That is a very particular question, is it not? If you were to be canceled, what would you be? What would be the most likely reason? Hmm. Probably weaponized misinformation. If you wanted like an actual answer. It's like asking. It's like openly asking like, what's the worst thing that you've done, or I guess something like that. But I mean, it's such a particular question. It's one of those like really yucky questions that's like you're trying to like farm for like something here, and it can derail into a, oh well, you got nothing to hide, and why don't you just go ahead and admit it, right? Where am I at right now? I tell you what, why don't you tell me more about the other streamers you've asked this question to when they're live? I'd love to hear what their answers have been so far, and we'll continue your social experiment. If somebody had a preconceived notion, like a preoccupation, and they're trying to work backwards from their conclusion, is when you would ask a question like this to be able to farm for anything, and then juice it out of context and be able to use it as weaponization. Also, I definitely went in the wrong place earlier, but we're gonna go over here right now. It seems like a very particular question. It's like one of those like guilty until proven innocent things. Like, why not just bring up the thing you think that's questionable of me, rather than put me in a situation with that kind of question. Also, you said canceling, which is like the court of public opinion, and very often, due to the bipolarization of social media, people really want their dopamine ASAP. So they will happily like go with the hive mind and the impulsivity, especially if it's reinforced with somebody they like, rather than like you know, entertain objective reality or hear both sides of the story. You know, we have the history of like Me Too's and canceling that have seen like what that's like. If I were to make it like, you know, have more of a nuanced reply here, it's like, look at Pro Jared. Pro Jared's accusations weren't light. He went the right course with like the legal consultation, and once both sides were comprehensively heard, what do you know? The public opinion court suddenly swayed entirely. But because there was not the capability to impulsively defend himself without like causing like legal ramifications for what was said on the public forums. I'm giving you the nuance you want right now. Cancelable depends on the context of which public court the opinion is being determined by. That definitely matters. If a situation of personal affair were to happen, say, in the YouTube makeup community compared to the Smash community, compared to the speedrunning community, compared to whatever, you've already seen what would have happened here. A great example would be Dream cheating on his Minecraft speedrun, because it was in the context of the public opinion of casual YouTubers, the infraction or the negative consequence of cheating on a speedrun that he eventually self-admitted to was ultimately shrugged off and belittled because he's like a, you know, a very popular YouTuber with a huge fan base. And the volume of them outnumber the people who see the violation of integrity and the sanctity of speedrunning. If it were to happen in the public court opinion of speedrunning, he probably would have been canceled ultimately and been able to, and have to succumb to a tarnished reputation beyond repair. So canceling is just dependent upon that variable first. So when you ask, what would I get canceled over? Depends on the variable of the public court of opinion. And beyond that, also cited here, more nuance for you. The context of pro Jared could not immediately reply to all the accusations and therefore lost the opinion because, of course, you know, public newbies are going to be all like, oh, see, he's not replying, he's silent, he's guilty. But he actually waited for a lawyer to come in and do everything A1, you know, legally to spec, and also I believe included also for slander because his reputation was tarnished for lost wages and stuff like that. You have another one here. Another YouTuber I know of here, Angry Joe, had an accusation by some female lady at a convention that she was raped, and he was like, no, that's not what happened at all. It was completely consensual. She's full of shit. She's lying. And he had like receipts to back up that she was fabricating points of her side of the story. So, you know, that, you know, could have gotten, you know, I think date rape or whatever you want to call it here can definitely be pretty cancelable by any context. But again, it's because the canceling is contextual on the public court of opinion. So I was trying to think, it was like, she might have been a cosplayer. I don't remember though. I don't remember much about her. I just remember that like accusations came strong and Angry Joe from her. Everyone was all Me Too believing her, and then Joe had to come super hard with everything. Assuming the guy meant it well and wasn't fishing for some dirt on you, if you were at a party and someone casually asked you the question, let's say as an icebreaker, what would you reply with? See, the problem here is that such a question is like one that's going into something so personal that the idea that someone would legitimately ask, what would you be canceled over as an icebreaker, is so obtuse to me and improbable. No one's gonna ask you, hey, what's the deepest, darkest thing you've ever done, in your own opinion, as an icebreaker. Like, you have to be there has to be some level of trust established before you would even like go into those things, right? What's your deepest, darkest thing? What's your most painful trauma that you've gone over, that you've endured? Who's the person you hate the most? Like, these are all questions that I feel like you would have to have some level of trust in the person to be able to like really show your vulnerabilities towards, and it being an icebreaker at a party and not like an intimate one-on-one conversation with someone you've known for a long while to have earned that trust over, to me is absolutely asinine. It wouldn't even happen. Because if it did happen, then it's only under the premise of a parasocial relationship where like the person knows you really well and you don't know them at all, aka you're a known public figure, celebrity, or, you know, influencer or streamer, right? So yeah, if I'm the Trihex and I'm known, the other person's like a fan who knows a lot about me and I know nothing about them, certainly they're a fan of me, but do I trust them as a person? I don't know who they are, honestly. You know what I mean? So the whole thing here is, yeah, that's like legitimately reverse the roles here, and it's like, if it's a power dynamic altogether. That's the problem here, the imbalance, the power dynamic, and the lack of a trust establishment in the first place here. If you were a new hire, you just got a promotion as you're like you just became the boss of a new location, right? And the new hire employee asked you that question. It's still not the same context I'm trying to illustrate here with the scenario you're illustrating right now here, but it would still be like the same. You would be on mega stuff and be like, well, what do you want out of me here? Why? Like, do you have a reason to ask me such a loaded question here? Do you feel like, are you, let me think here. Why am I being framed in a way where I'm guilty until proven innocent rather than the other way around? So yeah, so yeah, you don't know the person, but it's not even about, don't even think about it. Don't even say it's like, it's because I'm the streamer. It's because there's no trust here. You don't have to be the streamer. Me being the streamer and having the parasocial element only makes the severity of the distrust or obtuseness more so. But even if you're John Jaded and a literal stranger at a party because they're a mutual or an associate of a mutual friend, you know, you're not gonna. You would just be like, "What the fuck kind of question is this here, dude?" You would make small combo. You would start with smaller stakes. You don't know the person that well. Like, what, you're gonna let someone you barely know drive your car? You're gonna let someone you barely know, into your intimate personal details that you don't know what they would do with such information, whether it's being asked in good faith or not, or against you. So, yeah, it's like that. So that's why I was like calling it out for, like, it's a very particular. This person in question posted in chat before here. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they're trying to get out of it right now, but it did seem pretty sus to ask of a streamer publicly. So that I have to, like, either ignore the question and then maybe be called out on ignoring the question, or I come in here and I do the trademark Trihex and, like, challenge what the framing of the question entails, because that is important here. We don't just assume that Twitter court or public court are the endpoints. The context of the audience in question consuming their perception of the events is very important on what a canceling would involve doing and whatnot. So, okay. So now I've given that, like, its whole thing there. But above everything, I think it'd be weaponizing misinformation, if anything. I don't know. If there was a hater and the hater really, really wanted to, I don't know, get at me or anybody here, you would just use, like, stupid shit from the past to be able to try to, like, use it out of context. But yeah, you would have to resort to, like, schemy shit like that, I would think. But I don't know. I don't really give a shit thought, honestly. Any examples? I don't know. Maybe F slur 2018, but again, that's, like, publicly been apologized for. LGBTQ ally from the jump. Trans rights ally from the jump. Always have been. Fully reformed. Haven't used it since. Don't use it now. The whole canceling thing earlier. Like I was saying, the issue. I'm sorry. This is like another important topic. I feel like I need to, like, give my full attention to here. Last pausing point. I promise here. What I find really, like, maybe the negative of, like, what we now deem cancel culture is that, like, cancel culture is, like, separate from actions having consequences, which is often what's conflated into, but rather it can be the fear of having what you're saying misconstrued. Again, if you have a hater who has a preconceived notion of, well, I don't like you because I don't like blah, right? Like, I don't like Kingdom Hearts, and therefore I don't like Kingdom Hearts fandom, or I don't like Rick and Morty fans because they're cringe, and by extension I hate Rick and Morty the series. Like, both statements here can be, like, a conclusion you come to that unfairly, like, contaminates other things in your worldview to reinforce it. So you have a conclusion that you are justifying to arrive at, which can lead to some toxic examples of, like, confirmation bias or whatever, and maybe even some cognitive dissonance as well here. So what can happen with this now then is that, like, if you, let me think here, I don't know, like, if you like something and someone disagrees or says that that thing is not good, and their opinion of it is not good, right? You're a big Cuphead fan and I say that Cuphead is mid. You may now look at me and be like, well, he doesn't like Cuphead, and you may view your liking of Cuphead as an extension of your identity, and therefore I'm attacking you when I'm purely being honest about the show, not meant to attack anyone who likes the show. In fact, my lack of enjoyment of the show's episode 1 should have no capability of reducing your own enjoyment of said show in its entirety or liking it. It's actually quite unreasonable to think that, everyone has to agree with your opinion. It's actually rather egotistical. As an example, it's not even relevant. It's more getting at the whole thing here, right? So from there, wait, we're getting there, right? So from there, if you are someone like me, a streamer, content creator, Twitter user, what can happen is whenever I make statements, unless I make definitive, comprehensive statements that are both stating what I intend and also convey what I don't mean explicitly by what I am saying, people will often take it and misconstrue it, or can misconstrue it, and then use that to weaponize against you. So Let me think here. An example. I'm trying to think here. That's a. So I'm bringing up all these points now, and I want to reinforce with an example. I'm trying to think of an example. The problem is I'm so used to this stuff now that I forget like what even like doing things normal is like. When I tweet, I make sure to tweet in a way that I reread what I write, and I look at it and I say, okay, how could someone misunderstand what I'm saying here? And then I try to like I edit it to figure out how to make it as comprehensible objectively as possible and go from there. Now, usually when I do that, though, it does lose the spice of how I would actually word it, the vocabulary I'm using, the tone I'm attempting to convey here, whether it be sarcastic or funny. And I have to determine here, am I going for a particular tone that can be divisive, or am I going for a max informative, that way it's completely understood what I'm saying and it's a little more dry. It's a ratio I try to like maintain, and I do try to use like a lot of like spicy punctuation to like deliver it in the best tone I can, most simulating accurately how I would actually say it. Does that make sense? Um so yeah, and then ultimately the problem here is that when you make everything comprehensive, you end up making like a thread, and it could be like one, it could be 3 tweets, could be 5, could be 10. Hard to say here, really. The other issue too is, again, with cancel culture, is that like there's definitely this dichotomy of like when you're replying to things, right? And this is where it gets really spicy here, right? So imagine if like if you make a counterpoint and it's short and concise, it's likelier to be consumed and read by more people. People are more eager to read a 1 to 2 tweet accusation or clapback than they are to read the 10 tweet defense debunking the clap that's happening at someone, right? So the ratio of dialogue and words used to respond and communicate does have impact on how things are consumed. And when that is the case, that also means that people are not reading your stuff as often, so you're not even given a fair chance to defend yourself in court. You have to not only defend yourself in accusations, you have to also make them like entertaining to read. So it's like being informative requires having an objectively max informative post requires there to be some level of empathy and compassion for you in the first place to give you an actual chance, because you're asking them to get your attention for longer than they actually want to. So the 2 sentence accusation that, oh, you did so and so, and then the 10 tweet debunk of that is not given the same courtesy because it cannot be impulsively consumed properly. So when you know all the things are going on here, it does lead to a symptom where content creators, influencers, social media, public figures, whatever here, they ultimately are just going to like play further from their chest and just reveal things less because of the fear of being misconstrued and having to go on defense mode or deal with the defense force or whatever the fuck the bullshit may be here. Misinformation, wrong information, fake news, false narratives, these usually spread faster because they're like sensationalized, weaponized, and have an aim to rile up emotions here. If it were something that I did, you'd be like, oh, no, I know Trihex, he wouldn't do that. I've been watching him for a long time now. And then, because that, because it's you're taking it at face value, you feel maybe betrayed or insulted, or your judgment of character has been fraudulent. Who fucking knows, right? But the whole point here is like, that can happen in like some bullshit 2 sentence statement, and then I have to come on the defense to like entertain a false narrative and explain why I'm innocent. And that is actually the big issue I have with cancel culture, is that I have to live on the verge of not being canceled, but rather the verge of that happening if you had a hater motivated enough to just kind of like accumulate enough bullshit to come at you and whatnot. So yeah, that's the actual thing there. And to conclude it all together here, this is also why I tweeted a lot less, why I do Discord a lot more, why I enjoy social media less, external to the COVID pandemic shit and all that. What else here? When I was young in the game and I had like 10K Twitter followers, I used to just tweet whatever was on my mind, like, no fucks given. And now that I'm at, wherever I'm at, 95K followers or whatever here, now I pay way more attention to things. And ultimately, I find Twitter and social media a necessity with my public figureness, but definitely not as fun as it used to be. Like if I have a banger tweet and it gets like 3K likes, like whether it be the 5-4 skip or whatever, I'm like, all right, cool. That's like business as usual. But then if like I get like a high reply or I get ratio because like the what I said was like a shitty take or a bad take or a take that's being disagreed with here, yeah, it's not really fun. Ultimately, the polarization of emotionally volatile content on social media means you're on there longer, more often, which is what they actually want. Remember, they're built to be as addictive as possible. And so, like, it's all meant to, like, keep you on the platform longer. And when you realize there's no winning or losing arguments, there's just, monopolizing your time on the platform, whether it be on TikTok or Twitter or wherever. That's the dub the platform holder wants. Anything that's happening otherwise, if you're mental, you're more stressed, you're more anxious, doesn't really matter because you being on there longer and making it more ingrained as a daily habit of your day is boosting their metrics and boosting the monetization of advertising on those platforms. So your mental health is literally being gamified for the good of the platform or for the profitization of the platform, not the good of it. So yeah, so now that you understand all of that stuff, and I'm hitting you with like a absolute buffet of nuanced shit here because I've given all that a lot of thought. You can now see where I'm coming from here about particularly the topic of, and this is one component of communication, of the cancel culture that we are now in, which again is very different than consequences of your actions in a public forum. They're two very different things. One of them will wait for objective replies from both and yada yada yada, right? The other one is like, a batch of rabid hyenas ready to, the minute they smell blood, they go after anything, So, so yeah, hopefully all of that gives you a much bigger idea of like what I perceive when we bring up cancel culture, and what, a sample of what I go through when I post on Twitter. When I post on Twitter, it's never impulsive. Usually very, very thoroughly thought out about what I'm trying to say. In fact, I even try to like, I try to make my tweets as fun to read as possible too. Like I usually go out of my way and like try to find, an example here, right? I'm sorry, now we're going to social media 101 here, but like, hopefully all this like really like shows you like how important it all is to me here. But an example of something I did here, right? So, two things here. One, I didn't just put my goals in a list, all text. I made it a fun to read little pseudo infograph. I didn't put too much. I put like 10 minutes of effort to this thing here, but like hoping that, the accompanying icons gave a visual aid to like really show here, like, how important these goals are to me right now. I made it a fun thing to read. It could have been all text, but it's not all text. Okay. So then we go from there into, if we scroll down here, where is it? Something I tweeted yesterday here. So not only did I quote tweet this thing here, right? Let's look at it here. I'll show you an example of like the Trihex difference, right? Attention to detail here. So someone tweets out here, it's ironic how gamers always argue about console power, yet 4 of the top 5 popular home consoles ever were the weakest systems of their respective generations. So their OP's claim is that, right? Which, of course, the PS1 and the PS2 being the weakest of their generations is incredibly subjective, or it can be easily debated or debunked full on entirely here, right? But I didn't find that really important to like, that point isn't the one I found the most interesting to debate on. Rather, I quote tweeted it, acknowledged that wasn't the important thing here, but rather I pivoted into the macro perspective that software is king. And I had a crown emoji. That way, like the quote tweet had some level of visual flair to make you read through the goopily goop, so I can get to the part that I do think is interesting to talk about here. I then continue and elaborate here with like my why I feel that way, with an anecdotal take on why I desire to Switch Pro, but without derailing into like what the that my desire for Switch Pro is now being filled by the Steam Deck. But this picture here, I think this picture here helps a lot in the whole thing of the thread. If you bother to go back to the first link here, I include a picture to really sell on the point I'm getting at here about software is king, including like the fact that how absolutely loaded and stacked 2017 was for software for Switch, and where we are going into now 5 years later, like just like, you know, super stacked, tons of bangers on Switch at this point, right? So I feel like this thumbnail helped a lot here, and I did give credit. I were to say pizza rolls shit on bagel bites, and someone took that as my definitive conclusion that all bagels are trash. There you go. That's a more realistic one here. You know, it's like, so, you know, so you can either like have your take, throw it out there, and include a reply elaborating that you're not saying that all, you know, that bagels are bad in every application, but, you know, but pizza, but bagel bites or shit. Is it wild that I always seem to agree with Trihex takes? I'm flattered there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I have the best takes, because having the objective correct take isn't as valid as having the strongest persuasion skills. So if anything, you know, maybe I can make you think that Mario Kart DS is better than Mario Kart 8. Maybe I can make you think that Mario Kart 8 is overrated. Maybe I can make you think that Kingdom Hearts 3 is a bad game. Maybe I can make you think a lot of things of my own personal opinions. But it doesn't mean that they're correct. It means I may have had the strongest persuasion attempts and capability to win you over. So, but I do think I put a lot of attention and care into my takes on things. So if you do hate me or don't like me or don't like my takes, you know precisely why, rather than this vague amalgamation of like things that are concluding at you don't like me. Rather, you know exactly why you don't like me. You don't like me because I'm too political. You don't like me because, like, you know, my Yoshi Island biases are too strong. You don't like me because, you know, I don't do enough gameplay when I stream, because I always am doing talks like this here. Who fucking knows, right? But I'm flattered, Tama got you, that you find my capability of communication good, because you understand my perspective resonates with you because I've communicated it well. Which again goes back to the fact that I was a waiter for 8 years and had to do this shit every day for like a long ass time. You know, when you're a waiter, you have to have charisma and likability out the gate. And you have to, like, if you want the best tip possible, you have to like make dining out with you as your waiter, as the pilot of the ship, as memorable as possible, without what's the word here? Without overstepping your boundaries and like overwhelming people. You know what I mean? Whoa! I've used your tweets and graphics. Hang on, let me go back and I'm about to film myself for a second here. Yo. I've used your tweets and graphics as examples for employees just regarding readability and like general interest. You've always have things so easy to digest. Oh my god, I'm actually gonna cry, y'all. That is like that is some supreme validation here that my tweets are great. Even the narrative here, I didn't tweet out the wow, Goofy's performance in Goofy movie is great. I included the Goofy voice acting appreciation retweet tactically with some contrasting context of the hunter from Tarzan using a gun in Kingdom Hearts here. Like even the order of things I'm retweeting has its own tactical meta narrative within it here. Which, by the way, here, okay, while we're just derailing right now here, if y'all didn't see this thing right here, this is crazy, right? So, Guy says here, what is a voice acting performance you find Oscar worthy? Bonus points if it's an actor is primarily known for their voice acting. By the way, this thread here, quotes and all that here, there are so many talented voice actors that bring cartoons and fictional characters to life that I have a huge appreciation for. I've nerded out before here on my admiration of voice actors, but there are so many here. I don't want to like go too hard. So I just found like the example that was like, you know, the big banger here. Very underrated, or maybe now overrated. I don't even know here, but like I feel like I can't dick ride a Goofy movie enough. The movie is so fucking good. But without a doubt, Bill Farmer as Goofy in this one scene is one of the best vocal performances I've ever had my entire life. Lay it all in, y'all.
What?
Oh, you...
My headphones up.
I just hate to be the bearer of bad news, but
What is it, Pete?
Your kid's duping you.
What do you mean?
Well, I heard the little mutant telling PJ that he changed the map, so you're heading straight to L.A., pal.
What?
Oh, you tried, Goof. He's just a bad kid, that's all.
I don't believe you.
What?
I don't believe you, Pete.
Well, hey, don't take my word for it. Check your map.
I don't need to check the map. I trust my son. You know, maybe Max isn't all the things that you think a son should be, but he loves me.
Hey, my son respects me. I just hate to be the...
Now think about it, okay? Think about it. You got Goofy, you know, you got Goofy here playing it somber, but still distinctively goofy, and it works. You know how it works well? Because you're in the scene. You're never like, man, he's got to like play up the goofiness or do like a hook. You know, it's like, no, it's like when you like nailing that, it's so good. In fact, it's so good you forget. You're like, no, that's Goofy. Now, the thing about that is when you're wondering, okay, Goofy done well, Goofy done bad, just look at Goofy doing anything attempted emotional in Kingdom Hearts. And that gives you the complete difference here between like quality writing, quality script, you know, nailing the voice acting, yada, yada, yada here. Like shit that Goofy actually would say rather than the reinforced Kingdom Hearts lore that just completely zaps you out of it here. Oh, Sora, the darkness. You know, compared to like here where like, you know, shit fucking hits, dude. Though I get it, I'm comparing like apples and oranges here, but it's okay though, because you know that, you know, your emotional stakes and like anything happening with the Disney characters in Kingdom Hearts is nothing. It's really all about whenever Sora or Riku or Kairi or whoever the fuck here is like, you know, making out with whoever the fuck at some random cutscene here. Those are the parts you find emotionally heavy, not really anything with the Disney characters here, I would say. Anyways, though, yeah, so I did that, and then I came in here with the a tactical retweet of another very interesting point here about like Clayton, the hunter from Tarzan, was that bitch. All the Disney villains were like, shit, let me use the power of darkness and summon some guys when they needed to fight Sora. Clayton, on the other hand, was like, shit, boy, I got that heat. Okay, I like this one actually. Okay, so this one here. All right, so for this one here, right, I didn't just have a call to action to join me for the Korean barbecue dinner date. I did the Uncle Sam, I want you for the, you know, I want you to join the army or whatever, right? So I did that, but I contrasted this with the iconic, look at that. Isn't that framing so fucking boss, dude? Slightly top up angle, pointing at the camera. I want you. But I don't want you to join the U.S. Army or whatever. I want you for this Korean barbecue dinner date IRL stream now. Get your ass in the stream, y'all. And because I already added an image here, I replied to it to give it a big target, easily clickable link to the Twitch stream. So I thought that was like really, really good. I was like, yeah, that's hot, dude. That's hot. And you know, and sometimes like the satisfaction of like a well-composed tweet for me hits more than just having the likes and shit. So I think I've now given the cancel topic all. Oh my god, dude, I didn't even see. I lived.